The buildings of Chicago have been silent witnesses to history and hold secrets that tell the most vibrant chapters of the past. Among them, one stands out by embracing the era of jazz and prohibition as a part of its essence, the Carbide and Carbon Building. This architectural gem not only reflects the cultural evolution of the 1920s, but has also been a protagonist on the big screen and in video games, leading many to wonder what lies within its halls. Stay tuned to find out, as today we discover the history of the Carbide and Carbon Building. I'm your host Ryan Socash, and you're watching It's History. Let's start with the basics. The history of this building is intertwined with a significant role played by the Union Carbide and Carbon Company in its inception and purpose. Founded in 1917 and headquartered in New York, the company was a prominent manufacturer of electric components, plastics, metals, and batteries. So, in a strategic move to establish its regional presence in the Midwest, it constructed a prominent corporate headquarters. The company chose Chicago as the site for this new venture. Basically, the decision to construct the Carbide and Carbon Building in Chicago was practical and symbolic of the company's ambition and confidence in the city's thriving economy. Located on bustling North Michigan Avenue, the building was strategically positioned to showcase the company's success and prominence in the heart of Chicago's commercial district. It was crucial to have the right team to devise the design and achieve these set objectives. Therefore, they opted to hire the renowned architectural firm and Hubert Burnham, the sons of the famous architect Daniel Burnham. The Carbide and Carbon Building was also conceived as an imposing testament to modernity and progress. Its distinctive Art Deco design, characterized by dark granite, marble, and terracotta, would undoubtedly set it apart from its surroundings at the time. But to understand why this building really differed from the rest, we must recall what was happening in the city at the time it came to prominence. In the early 20th century, Chicago was a hub of daring, lawlessness, and clandestine nightlife. As cars raced through the streets and speakeasies thrived, the city became a hotbed of cultural and criminal activity. Then, on January the 17th, 1920, a new chapter in American history unfolded with the implementation of Prohibition. This measure represented an ambitious attempt to address perceived problems associated with alcohol consumption. Essentially, Prohibition sought to eradicate alcohol consumption altogether by banning manufacturing, sale, and transportation across the country. This approach necessitated dismantling the infrastructure supporting the alcohol industry, from breweries to distilleries, and of course the taverns serving as meeting places for drinkers. Then, paradoxically, the outbreak of World War I acted as a catalyst for Prohibition's approval. Indeed, during the conflict, concerns about conserving resources such as grain led to calls for restriction on alcohol production and consumption. The discourse of sacrifice and national unity during the war provided the perfect context for enacting such unpopular laws. However, the implementation of Prohibition did not yield the expected results. Instead of reducing alcohol consumption, the measure led to a boom in black markets and the emergence of criminal organizations dedicated to illegal alcohol trade. These crime syndicates found Prohibition a lucrative opportunity and quickly gained control of the underground market, challenging the authorities' efforts to maintain order. However, 1920 Chicago wasn't just about clandestine activities and prohibition, as simultaneously another equally impactful cultural movement emerged, and it was connected to this hidden world: jazz music. With its vibrant cultural landscape and diverse population, Chicago played a crucial role in shaping the trajectory of jazz in the 20th century. While New Orleans often receives credit as the birthplace of jazz, Chicago emerged as a significant center of this musical innovation and experimentation during the Great Migration, when thousands of African Americans moved north in search of economic opportunities and social freedom. But they did not come alone. They brought with them the rich musical traditions of the South, infusing the city's neighborhood with the sound of blues, gospel, and ragtime. This cultural exchange laid the groundwork for jazz development in Chicago in the decades to pass. The relationship between jazz and prohibition was symbiotic, as the speakeasy's secretive nature provided the perfect environment for jazz music's growth and evolution. In these underground establishments, where patrons gathered to enjoy forbidden pleasures away from the prying eyes of police, jazz musicians found a receptive audience for their art, improvising and innovating in real time to captivate listeners. Louis Armstrong and other legendary musicians were regulars at the Southside Jazz Clubs, with Armstrong attracting other prominent musicians like Joseph King Oliver, Baby Dots, and Lil Hardin Armstrong. So now that we have the cultural groundwork understood, the Carbide and Carbon Building came to light in the context of defiance of established norms. In contrast to the traditionalism of neoclassical styles, which seemed out of touch with the rebellious and dynamic atmosphere of the time, the Burnham brothers boldly opted for the vibrant Art Deco style. This architectural choice challenged aesthetic conventions and reflected the essence of a city in constant evolution and defiance of established norms. Completed in 1929 at an approximate cost of $4.75 million, the Carbide and Carbon Building stands majestically at a height of 502 feet. With 39 floors, 37 above ground and 2 basement levels, it offers ample space of 344,994 square feet. The construction of the Carbide and Carbon Building utilized cutting-edge materials and engineering techniques to achieve its distinctive aesthetic and structural integrity. The building's facade is clad in dark granite, marble, and terracotta, creating a dramatic contrast with the surrounding skyline. Its distinctive green and gold color scheme, achieved through the use of glazed terracotta and accents of gold leaf, further enhance its visual impact. But why did they choose those colors, and what does any of this have to do with prohibition and jazz? Well, before black buildings became fashionable in the 1950s, it was pretty unusual to see construction of that tone. So when the Burnham brothers chose to make the Carbide and Carbon Building, it was undoubtedly a bold choice and guaranteed the building would stand out among the light limestone facades in the area. The intention was to convey a sense of luxury. It's rumored that the Burnham brothers were inspired by one of the most recognizable status symbols, champagne, perhaps also to express their thoughts on prohibition a bit. And let's really consider this for a moment. Champagne bottles are often wrapped in dark glass and topped with a gold metal seal. So by following this same color pattern and design, the architects sought to imbue the building with the same sense of luxury, exclusivity, and for the 1920s at least, taboo. Structurally, the Carbide and Carbon Building features a steel frame construction, allowing maximum height and stability while minimizing the need for interior columns and partitions. This innovative approach to structural design allowed for flexible floor plans and open, bright spaces, creating a functional and aesthetically pleasing environment. In the past, at night, the building stood out with its impressive 50-foot tall chimney, with dedicated spotlights shining upon it to make it visible from afar. Also, right at the main entrance of the Skyscraper on Michigan Avenue, you can see the original name of the building in bright golden letters. This detail added a special touch of Art Deco style that never went unnoticed. When it opened its doors to the public in 1929, it was primarily intended for commercial use. The building served as the regional headquarters of the Union Carbide and Carbon Corporation, housing offices, meeting rooms, and administrative spaces for the company's operations. Additionally, it featured commercial spaces on its lower levels, providing amenities and services for tenants and visitors alike. But sadly, as we've seen in previous videos, the passage of time and the city's harsh weather conditions meant that even the most significant and essential works of art needed refurbishment, and the real problems arose when the building's physical integrity put pedestrians at risk. It was in 1947 when rehabilitation work began. The devastating effects of wartime financial constraints had made their mark, making it difficult to maintain the building's exterior. Therefore, considering this extreme neglect, repairs of exceptional intensity were undertaken. A team of 30 men embarked on the task of restoring the facade. They discovered that many pieces of the dark green terracotta were defective and needed to be replaced. This meant that, according to some sources, for several years, everyone passing under the building daily risked being injured by falling parts. Additionally, measures were taken to strengthen the walls of the parapet over the roof, thus preventing water leakage that threatened to further intensify the decay. To accommodate all of this, steel scaffolding was erected as a temporary skeleton around the building's tower, and an open external elevator extended from the ground to the top. This laborious and challenging task cost approximately $350,000, but was necessary to restore the splendor of the building, as well as ensure the safety of the public. Considering that, the Carbide Carbon Building has been well maintained ever since. Accordingly, on May 9, 1996, the building received official recognition as a national landmark. However, one of the most significant transformations occurred after this, a change that would completely transform the building's life and purpose. The Carbide Carbon Building has undergone a remarkable transformation in recent years, evolving from a corporate office space to a luxury hotel destination. In 2004, the building was sold and renovated at a cost of $106 million to become the Hard Rock Hotel Chicago, which had approximately 381 rooms. The hotel welcomed its first guests on New Year's Eve and was hailed as an example of architectural recycling in Chicago. Things didn't go too well initially, according to Kevin M. Williams' review of the Hard Rock Hotel in the same year. Some aspects needed a little bit more attention. For example, the initial customer service could have been more optimal, and the hotel did not have a restaurant. Additionally, the rooms were said to be very minimalist in contrast to the expectation of that colorful, wild atmosphere associated with the Hard Rock Cafe. There was no entertainment for children, and the showers had no bathtubs. But despite these aspects, the hotel was a good starting point for exploring the city as a tourist. Over the years, the hotel has improved, maintaining that authentic aesthetic of both the Carbide Carbon Building as well as the hotel chain. The years 2015, 16, and 17 were positive for most hotel owners in the city center. However, after 13 years, they decided to close the Hard Rock Hotel due to some economic issues and to give the property yet another new identity. The building owners, Becker Ventures, wanted to do something special with the hotel, something that would match that Art Deco vibe and Chicago's overall history. So they teamed up with the Imperium Hotel Group and Booth Henson to completely change the appearance of the Carbide Carbon Building, restoring its original Art Deco style. The new hotel was named St. Jane Hotel in honor of Jane Addams, a famous Chicago activist who won the Nobel Peace Prize. It opened its doors in the spring of 2018, ready to offer a unique experience to guests. But then 2019 came, and as you might imagine, a few years later, due to the pressures of the pandemic, the hotel was closed like many across the city. That's why, in 2020, the hotel was sold to Montage International, owners of the Pendry Hotel chain, who operate the Carbide Carbon Building to this very day in all its glory. I will leave it there for today, but I thank you all for joining us. I hope you'll consider clicking subscribe, and until next time, I'm Ryan Socash, signing off.